They called her a bad mother. But reality was heartbreaking. The whispers followed Elaine Morgan everywhere in their small town. Did you see how thin her boy is? Those children are always alone. What kind of mother? They judged her without knowing, without seeing the nights she spent by her son's hospital bed, the extra shifts she worked, or the tears she cried alone. But sometimes, the truth has a way of revealing itself in the most unexpected moments. If this story touches your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that reveal the hidden struggles behind quick judgments. The first time I saw Elaine Morgan, she was running. Not the casual jog of someone getting exercise, but the desperate sprint of a woman who had received a phone call that made her heart stop. Her dark hair was coming loose from its practical bun, her waitress uniform still on, complete with a coffee stain on the pocket. She nearly collided with me outside Pinewood Elementary School. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, barely slowing down. "My son," they called. I stepped aside as she rushed past, but something in her eyes stayed with me. Pure fear, yes, but something else too. A weariness that seemed bone deep, as if she'd been running like this for years. I didn't know then that I would become entangled in Elaine's story. I didn't know that the town's whispers about her would eventually reach my ears, or that I would find myself defending a woman I barely knew. I was new to Pinewood, having moved there to take a position as the elementary school's counselor. Small towns have long memories and established narratives. Elaine Morgan's had been written years ago. "That's Elaine Morgan," my neighbor told me later that week, her voice dropping to that particular tone people use when sharing gossip they pretend to disapprove of. Single mother of two. The boy, Jamie, he's always sick or in some kind of trouble. And the girl, Lily, practically raises herself. Elaine works all hours, leaves those kids alone too much. Child services has been called more than once. I nodded noncommittally, uncomfortable with how easily people shared judgments of someone they clearly didn't know well. But I would soon learn more about Elaine Morgan than anyone in town, because Jamie was referred to my office after his third absence that month. Jamie Morgan was small for a 10-year-old, with his mother's dark hair and eyes that seemed too old for his face. He sat in my office chair, his feet dangling above the floor, picking at a loose thread on his worn jeans. "My mom couldn't come," he said before I could ask. "She had to work. She tried to switch shifts, but Mr. Danner said he'd fire her if she missed another day." "That's okay," I assured him. "I just wanted to check in with you. Your teacher says you've missed some school lately." Jamie's shoulders tensed. "I get sick sometimes." "What kind of sick?" He shrugged, eyes fixed on the thread he was unraveling. "Just sick. Mom takes me to the doctor, but they don't always know what's wrong." I made a note. "And your mom takes care of you when you're sick?" His head snapped up, eyes suddenly fierce. "My mom takes care of me better than anybody. She stays up all night sometimes when I can't breathe right. She knows exactly what medicine I need and when. She's the best mom." The vehemence in his voice told me everything I needed to know about how aware Jamie was of the town's opinion of his mother. "I believe you," I said gently. "I'm just trying to understand so I can help." Jamie's defiance crumbled slightly. "Nobody helps us. They just talk." That evening, I found myself driving to the diner where Elaine worked. I told myself it was professional concern, but truthfully, something about her story had gotten under my skin. The diner was nearly empty when I arrived. Elaine was wiping down a table, dark circles under her eyes but still managing a smile for the elderly couple leaving with takeout containers. She looked up when I entered, recognition flickering across her face. "You're from the school," she said, not a question. "I'm Dr. Bennett. The new counselor. I spoke with Jamie today." Her hands stilled on the table. "Is he in trouble?" "No, not at all. I just wanted to introduce myself. Jamie mentioned you've been dealing with some medical issues." Elaine glanced toward the kitchen, then gestured to a booth. I have 10 minutes before the dinner rush. Over chipped mugs of coffee, Elaine Morgan told me parts of her story, carefully edited, I could tell. Jamie had been born with respiratory issues that had evolved into a complex condition doctors in their small town struggled to diagnose properly. Her husband had left when Jamie was 3 and Lily was just a baby, overwhelmed by the medical bills and constant emergencies. The last specialist we saw thinks it might be a rare form of cystic fibrosis, but we need more tests. Tests the insurance won't cover unless we go through their approved channels, which means waiting months. She twisted her wedding ring, still worn, I noticed, perhaps as a practical defense against unwanted attention. And you're managing this alone? A flash of that same defiance I'd seen in Jamie crossed her face. I'm doing what needs to be done. I didn't mean. I know what people say, she cut me off. That I neglect my kids. That I'm never there. That Jamie's always sick because I don't take proper care of him. Her voice remained steady, but her knuckles whitened around her mug. What they don't see is that I work 3 jobs so I can afford his medications. That I sleep maybe 4 hours a night so I can be there when he needs me and still pay our rent. That Lily helps not because I force her to, but because she loves her brother and that's the kind of person she is. Before I could respond, a loud voice called from the kitchen. Morgan. Table 6 needs service. Elaine stood immediately. I have to go. Please. Jamie's a good kid. He just gets sick a lot. It's not his fault. It's not anyone's fault. As she walked away, I noticed how thin she was, how her uniform hung loosely on her frame. I wondered when she last sat down to eat a full meal herself. Over the next few weeks, I learned more about the Morgans. Lily, 12 years old and fiercely protective of both her mother and brother, was a brilliant student who did her homework during her brother's doctor appointments and helped cook meals that accommodated Jamie's dietary restrictions. Jamie, despite his health struggles, had a sharp mind and quick wit, though he'd fallen behind academically due to his absences. And Elaine was a force of nature disguised as a tired single mother. She worked at the diner in the mornings and evenings, cleaned houses during school hours, and did medical billing from home late at night. She somehow managed to attend every important school event, though she often arrived breathless and apologetic, slipping into the back of the room in whatever uniform she'd been wearing for work. The more I learned, the more I understood why Jamie had been so defensive. The town's perception of Elaine was not just wrong, it was cruelly unjust. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was leaving the school when I saw Elaine's ancient sedan pull up, smoke billowing from under the hood. She jumped out, panic evident on her face. Dr. Bennett, she called when she saw me. Have you seen Jamie? He wasn't at the pickup spot. I thought he was absent today, I said, concern immediately rising. No. He was better this morning. I dropped him off myself. The fear in her eyes made my stomach clench. We found him 20 minutes later, curled up in the nurse's office, his breathing labored. The nurse, new and unaware of Jamie's condition, had simply let him rest, thinking he was tired. I tried to call you, she told Elaine defensively. You didn't answer. My phone died at work, Elaine said, already gathering Jamie into her arms despite her small frame. I need to get him to the hospital. Your car's overheated, I reminded her. I'll call an ambulance. That will take too long out here, the nurse said. And it's expensive. I'll drive you, I offered. The look of naked relief on Elaine's face haunted me all the way to the hospital, as did Jamie's wheezing breaths from the back seat where Elaine held him, murmuring reassurances. The emergency room was busy, but one look at Jamie and the triage nurse rushed us through. As doctors surrounded his bed, Elaine was pushed aside, standing helplessly at the edge of the curtain. I stayed with her, watching as she twisted that wedding ring around and around her finger. This happens a lot? I asked quietly. She nodded, eyes never leaving her son. His lungs, sometimes they just can't keep up. The episodes are getting worse. A doctor approached us, his face serious. Mrs. Morgan, we need to admit Jamie. His oxygen levels are dangerously low, and we're seeing signs of infection in his lungs. Elaine closed her eyes briefly. How long? At least a few days. We need to get this under control. She nodded, then seemed to remember something. My daughter, Lily, will be home from her friends soon. I need to call her. Use my phone, I offered. As Elaine stepped away to make the call, the doctor looked at me. Are you family? A friend, I said, surprising myself with how true it felt. He lowered his voice. This boy needs more than our little hospital can provide. He needs specialists, possibly a care facility with pulmonary expertise. Has anyone discussed that with his mother? I don't think she can afford that. The doctor's expression softened with understanding. That's often the case. It's a shame, with the right care, kids like Jamie can have much better outcomes. When Elaine returned, her composure was cracking. Lily's okay for now, but I need to get home to her. But Jamie. I'll stay with him, I offered. You go take care of Lily, and I'll be here until you can come back. The gratitude in her eyes was almost too much to bear. That night changed everything. Sitting beside Jamie's hospital bed, watching him sleep with an oxygen mask covering half his small face, I made a decision. This family needed an advocate, and somehow, I'd been placed in their path. When Elaine returned 2 hours later with Lily in tow, both of them carrying textbooks and a change of clothes for Jamie, I didn't leave as planned. Instead, I helped Lily with her homework while Elaine spoke with doctors. I listened as she expertly detailed Jamie's medical history, naming medications and procedures I'd never heard of with the fluency of a medical professional. You know a lot about this, I commented later, as we shared vending machine coffee in the hallway while both children slept in the room behind us. I have to, she said simply. No one else will fight for him like I will. The doctor mentioned specialists. A facility with expertise in pulmonary conditions. Elaine's laugh was hollow. Sure. And I'll pay for that with all my spare thousands, right after I buy a unicorn. There are programs. I've applied to them all. We're on waiting lists. We've been on waiting lists for years. She rubbed her eyes. Meanwhile, the town thinks I'm neglectful because sometimes Jamie looks pale, or because Lily knows how to cook dinner, or because I can't make every parent-teacher conference. As if I wouldn't give my right arm to be there for everything, to work one normal job with normal hours, to not have to choose between paying for medicine and buying new shoes. The bitterness in her voice was earned, I realized. This wasn't self-pity, it was the justified anger of a woman who had been fighting a system designed to defeat her, all while being judged by people who couldn't begin to understand her reality. Jamie stayed in the hospital for 5 days. During that time, I learned more about the Morgans than perhaps anyone else in town knew. I met Elaine's boss at the diner, who grudgingly gave her time off but made it clear her job was at risk. I saw the tiny 2-bedroom apartment they called home, with its carefully organized medication station and the calendar where Elaine tracked every symptom, every treatment, every bill due date. I watched Lily do her homework at Jamie's bedside, occasionally helping her brother with his own missed assignments. I saw how Elaine went without eating so her children could have the hospital cafeteria's overpriced food. And I witnessed the moment when Jamie's doctor suggested a treatment program in the city that might help, a program that would cost more than Elaine made in 6 months. There has to be another way, I said to the doctor in the hallway, after seeing Elaine's face crumple before she carefully reconstructed her hopeful expression for Jamie's benefit. There are charitable organizations, he suggested. But the waiting lists are long. I know. I thought for a moment. What if we could raise the money? The doctor looked skeptical. That's a substantial amount. This town owes her that much, I said, more to myself than to him. The fundraiser began small, just a notice in the school newsletter about a student needing medical treatment. But then something unexpected happened. One of Elaine's regular customers at the diner, an elderly man named Mr. Peterson who always ordered the same breakfast and left her generous tips, saw the notice. He came to me with questions, and after hearing Jamie's story, and more importantly, Elaine's, he made a substantial donation. "That woman serves me breakfast 3 times a week with a smile, no matter what she's going through," he told me. "Never knew the half of it. You tell her this is from all the folks whose houses she's cleaned and tables she's waited." Mr. Peterson didn't stop there. He spoke to his friends at the retirement community, who spoke to their children and grandchildren. The local newspaper ran a story, not about a neglectful mother, but about a woman fighting impossible odds to save her son. People who had whispered behind Elaine's back now approached her with offers of help. The mechanic fixed her car for free. The pharmacy started a medication assistance program with Jamie as its first recipient. The school organized a meal train and a volunteer system to help Lily get to and from her activities. And the donations came in, $5, $20, sometimes hundreds from those who could afford it. The town that had judged her now rallied around her, perhaps out of genuine compassion, perhaps out of guilt for their previous assumptions. Elaine accepted it all with grace, though I sometimes caught her wiping away tears when she thought no one was looking. "I never wanted charity," she confessed to me one evening as we counted the latest donations. "I just wanted understanding." "This isn't charity," I told her. "This is community. This is what should have been happening all along." 3 months later, Jamie began treatment at the specialized facility in the city. The program allowed Elaine to stay nearby, and the diner owner, now one of her biggest supporters, guaranteed her job would be waiting when she returned. Lily stayed with a friend's family during the week, with Elaine returning on weekends. The treatment was difficult. There were setbacks and complications. But for the first time, Jamie had doctors who fully understood his condition, who had seen cases like his before and knew how to help. 6 months after that first hospital stay, I visited them at the facility. Jamie was sitting up in bed, his color better than I'd ever seen it, working on a science project. Elaine was beside him, looking less exhausted than she had in all the time I'd known her. "The doctors say he might be able to come home next month," she told me, hope making her voice lighter. "Not cured, they still don't have a complete diagnosis, but stable. Manageable." "And then what?" I asked. "Then we figure out our new normal." She smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. "The hospital offered me a position in patient advocacy. Part-time at first, but with potential for growth. Apparently, my experience makes me qualified." "You're the most qualified person I can imagine," I said honestly. Jamie looked up from his project. "Mom's going to help other families like ours. So they don't have to do it alone like we did." Elaine brushed his hair back from his forehead, a gesture of such tender love that it made my throat tight. "We weren't alone at the end," she reminded him. "We had help when we needed it most." "But you did the hardest parts by yourself," I said. "You should be proud of that." She shook her head. "I did what any mother would do. I just wish." "What?" "I wish people had seen that sooner. Before they decided what kind of mother I was." 1 year after I first met the Morgans, Elaine stood at a podium in the community center, addressing the town that had once judged her so harshly. The fundraiser had evolved into an annual event, now benefiting other families facing medical crises. "My son is alive today because this community finally opened its eyes and its